Hey, friends, welcome back to What Couples Want. If you're new here, this is a podcast where we don't just talk about weddings, we talk about how couples are actually making decisions, what they're asking, and what they're pushing back on. All of that tells us where the wedding industry is headed next.
Before we jump in today, we want to set the stage for this conversation because it's one that feels especially timely. The wedding industry has changed a lot over the last few years. What worked during the post-COVID boom doesn't necessarily work now, and a lot of people are feeling that shift in real time. So today's guest has a really rare perspective on all of this.
Our guest has spent the last few years not only building her own photography business, but also sitting down with more than 70 wedding industry professionals and asking deeper questions about sustainability, visibility, burnout, and what actually makes a business last. She's a wedding photographer based in Germany. She works alongside her husband, and she launched her podcast during COVID at a moment when a lot of people were questioning everything. We're so glad to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me. Such a pleasure to be on the podcast, and thank you for inviting me.
For anyone listening who might not know your full story yet, can you give us just an overview? How did you get into photography? What led you to start your podcast? And what was happening in your business at that time?
Yeah, just to give you a little bit of a background, I'm actually Ethiopian. I'm living in Germany. I don't know, it's been a bit over 10 years now. My path to wedding photography was unexpected. I actually studied travel and tourism in the US and then in Switzerland. But when I met my husband, he was already a wedding photographer. And so I got curious about it, joined him, and then here we are about 10 years later doing this business together. And it's a lot of fun. And in terms of the podcast, it was during COVID, like you mentioned, where a lot of people were just at home and all our weddings were moved to the next year. And there are so many different topics coming up that people were talking about. Clubhouse was a thing during that time. It just occurred to me, why not just start it? And I didn't have any real direction during that time. But the more I was doing it and the more I realized, okay, what is not really talked about? And I realized I had a hard time balancing doing the weddings and the back end. And I was just getting overwhelmed and I was trying to find a way to keep my sanity, especially as a mom. So I just started putting content out there to help also other photographers who feel like they're overwhelmed with the whole being self-employed thing.
Yeah, it's just so much like juggling that you have to do, but it's good that you work with your husband as well. Like, what's that like working with your husband?
Incredible. I know there are people out there who are like, I can never imagine doing it. Like, we will probably get, butt heads a lot. But I couldn't imagine doing it without him because, there's just so much support. And for a lot of photographers, it's such a lonely endeavor. Of course,
Mhm.
like most weekends, we can be like with a ton of people, but the rest of our lives is at home behind the computer, editing and all that stuff. And then that pressure of everything that goes along with what comes with running a business is there on our shoulders. But the fact that we can split it and support each other is so huge for me.
Do you guys have like, does one person have strengths and other person has weaknesses in that? And like you just kind of balance each other out? Or is everyone pretty equal when it comes to knowing what to do?
I think in the beginning, we were kind of doing everything and we realized it's just better when we start splitting what we do, especially like when it comes to like writing offers and doing all that stuff. He's in charge of that. And then I would say like I take care of the marketing aspect, the website, even though he helps, he builds the website from the start and then I kind of give it that little the copywriting and stuff. Normally it is brides looking for photographers, of course, not always, but then I feel like I have that female eye to kind of be like, okay, that's just gonna attract potential brides, stuff like that.
You started your podcast during COVID, which was, I'm sure, strange and uncertain moment for the industry.
Mhm.
What were you personally feeling then, and what made you think, like, I want to have these conversations?
One of the first things that happened is actually, during COVID, there was also the whole Black Lives Matter movement happening around that same time. And then there was a lot happening in the wedding industry as well, where there was a lot of criticism in terms of lack of representation. And so as that conversation was coming up, I had written a blog post. It was titled something like Black People Are Not a Trend. And it got picked up quite a bit by different, blogs and stuff. It started circulating. And that kind of showed me, okay, this conversation is important. And why not like make an audio version of it? Because that's just when podcasts were popping. And then from that, like the conversation started to expand, right? So if you go back and see like the first, let's say 2, 3, 4 episodes of my podcast, it's focused more on, tokenism, representation, how we can do better and all that stuff. And then it makes a switch where I realized, okay, I actually like doing this. It's a different change. Having a conversation with other photographers from around the world was refreshing. Usually we deal with our wedding clients, but getting in contact with just different photographers was fun, and also impacting the industry as a whole.
Representation is really big for us too. And you did a whole episode on it, right?
I mean, it comes up every now and then. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's something that, like, at one point we felt like, oh, yeah, there's progress being made. And then recently there was just kind of like, oh, things are shifting. But I really feel like, as things shift, not to get too political, but around the world, we feel those impacts in different industries as well. And I feel like it's fair to say that we see that in the wedding industry at the moment as well.
So if we're a wedding vendor, friend of a wedding vendor, like what can we do to help representation like in the wedding industry?
Yeah, one thing we realize is like there are a lot of people who are like in their own bubbles, in their own circles, and it was really about opening your mind for something new, something different. It already starts there, and as long as it's coming from the heart, it's just about giving people a chance and seeing, okay, there is talent in different areas,
Mhm.
and at the end of the day, one of the points that I had made during in that blog post was the fact that, for example, when it comes to the speaking circuit in wedding photography, or whatever. Often, let's say Black people or people of color or whatever are invited to talk about diversity and representation,
Mhm.
but not about other things. Do you know what I
Mm,
mean? Which
yeah.
starts to get annoying for us because we're like, okay, we have other skills and talents, and we don't want to be always out there just talking about, oh, the importance of why representation is important. We just want it to be done with.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And that's why,
Mhm.
like, even my podcast did make that switch in terms of like, I just didn't want to be the go-to girl who's always talking about it, but because it's important, of course I bring it up, and that's fine. But I didn't want it to be just the other person who seems to be complaining or saying, something that has to be also addressed at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, we already know what's happening. Why don't we just all put ourselves in the same room and just kind of all be equal? That's what you're leveling the
Exactly.
playing field in that way. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
we would think it's an obvious thing, but it's not obvious to a lot of
No,
people.
for sure.
We were just talking right before this episode about Bad Bunny's performance at the Super Bowl. Did you see it?
Bits of it, yeah, for sure. The way he really represented all
Yeah.
the, South America and Puerto Rico, the culture in different ways, it was beautiful. The little details of, especially the kid lying, sleeping on the two chairs,
Yeah,
stuff
that
like
was
that.
my
I was
life
like,
too.
I can relate. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, there's those of us who think it's amazing and beautiful, and there are just people out there who are against it all. Sad.
Ugh, that was such a beautiful performance. Like, I got so emotional. And it wasn't negative at all. It was shown in a way that, like, there's love out there. Let's, like, bind together. It was so beautiful.
Yeah, and they had the live wedding, right? Which was a real wedding.
Yeah.
And with the sign in the end that I think it said something like the strongest force beyond hate is love. Something along those lines.
Mm.
I'm paraphrasing, but it's a strong message to have in this time.
Oh, yeah,
Mhm.
for sure.
Yeah.
Bad Bunny.
I know.
Right.
Love. He's exactly what we needed right now.
Yeah, which a lot of people need it because at the end of the day, like I always say, we have way more in common than our differences, right? At the end of the day, and I think that's gonna unite us. And if we're united, we're strong together.
Oh my
I
god, yeah.
totally agree. We're all going through, like, the similar experience, like, upbringings, like,
Mhm.
the tales that we're experiencing, the hardship. It's all the same thing in a way. So
Yeah, totally. At the core of it, you know what I mean? Once people can put prejudices aside or whatever, and you talk to someone one on one, as humans, we have similar desires, similar fears, and we're just trying to have a good life at the end of the day. You know what I mean?
spread the love.
Spread the love.
After talking with over 70 wedding professionals, you've obviously seen a lot of patterns that most people don't usually see. When you zoom out and look at all those conversations together, what themes do you notice that are coming up over and over again?
I think one of the themes is talking about branding. and how, wedding photography is such a personal pursuit, even, you know what I mean? And also the relationships that we have with our couples are very personal. So it's so important that our business is also aligned with our values. And it's that way we can also reach people who align with those values. And also, like, about not hiding who we are so much, and that our personality, our uniqueness, plays such a huge role in what we do, and that we can allow ourselves to let it shine. Do you know what I mean? In different ways. We all serve different types of people, different markets. And I think the different photographers I've had on emphasize that, trying to find out, okay, uh, who am I? Like, this whole thing about your why, it has been going on for years, but not to be cheesing that way, but really figuring out, because we put our heart into it, right? It's not just like a 9 to 5 job. When we're there with our full selves. And then it's just better that, we feel also aligned with what we're doing. And the couples, when they find us and they feel like, okay, we feel seen, it's just a win-win situation. So I would say that's one theme I've definitely realized. Another one would be about client expectations and client experience, how that could look like. It's not necessarily about just like giving a present to your clients, like, a bottle of champagne or something, but more about how you make them feel seen. Because there's a lot that goes into it, and that could be before, when you're getting to know them, but also during the session, during the day, how comfortable they feel. And also afterwards, it shouldn't be done and blocked, but making them feel important. Also providing them with additional services, maybe a photo album to make them feel more connected to the images. Like, because I would say digital images, they're beautiful, great, but there's another level of connection when you have printed photos, creating that kind of emotional connection, which is a great experience. And it also helps you have word of mouth referrals, right? Which is the best.
Absolute best. I love
Yeah.
word of mouth. You're like, okay, well, this person is similar to that, so I'm gonna have another great experience with this person.
Gets at a wedding, they see how you work, how you're really present and happy to be there. And they want someone like that at their wedding, or even later on, when they ask the couple, hey, how was it working with this person? And usually people are remembering how you make them feel, right? Not necessarily the words that you said, but just like the impression that you left with them.
I have one
That's,
photographer that we're friends with, and he had one client, and then from there, he booked like 3 of their cousins from that too.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
He's
awesome.
yeah, and he says, like, and still, like, friends of the people that he worked with are still coming back to him to, like, book with them too.
I mean, it's the biggest compliment you can get, right? Like, for us,
Mhm.
it's a huge deal when they say, hey, we saw you at a wedding. Sometimes it's happened to us, like, where they say it was 5 years ago. And the fact that they can still keep us in mind says a lot, and it touches us. So it's a big part of our philosophy.
I totally understand, like, the experience as well. I've worked with a bunch of photographers, like, doing photo shoots with them,
Hmm.
and a lot of them come with, like, obviously great skill set, like, the end of the photo, like, looks amazing, but there were some photographers I work with that, like, the experience during the session was, like, really lacking, and
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, like, why did that not feel, like, aligned?" It didn't feel, like, good. The photos were great, but the experience during just fell short, and I was like, how do other photographers up the ante when it comes to that?
That really became present to me when I talked to Cheryl. She's the founder of Unscripted. I don't know if you know this app. It's quite popular amongst wedding
Yes.
photographers. So there's an
Mhm.
episode on it. And she really emphasizes the fact that during the session, how you are with your couple has such a huge impact. And sometimes I think there might be photographers who might underestimate that. I certainly did. But after talking to her, when I even like made it a better experience, I saw how much it resonated with, like, my couple, so I can only recommend to do that.
If photographers are looking for examples of what a good experience is, what would you say that would be?
Sometimes it even helps to reflect on when you were on the other side. Have, like
Mm.
you said, when something was not a good experience for you, and analyzing why was the reason, but it doesn't even have to be within the context of photography. It can be maybe you are the hairdresser and you can be like, okay, what made me feel good? What word was it? The attention to detail? Was it that they really made me feel ease? It could even be the dentist. I just switched my dentist recently and they were so kind from the get go, which was a different experience where, a lot of us have this kind of thing like, oh my God, I don't want to go there. And we're so tense. It's what can you do to kind of ease that when people are anxious, right? A lot of, for example, couples, when they inquire with us and we're talking to them, they are always saying, oh, we're really nervous to be in front of the camera.
Mm.
So if a potential client is saying that to you, my question is, okay, how do you make them feel at ease in that situation? We recently, like it's been a couple years, started offering our couples the option to have photos taken before the wedding, and it's really optional. It doesn't cost them anything. And then we just like walk outside in the meadow. We live close to the lake, and then we can go there. We take some photos, very chill, and we really saw that like they were able to let their guard down and feel comfortable. And then by the time we shoot their wedding, they're so used to us. It's not their first encounter with us. It's just such a different experience. And it's something that is a major part of how we run our business now.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Is yeah, they're getting comfortable with you, and that was the thing with other photographers as well that didn't have a great experience with. It was I was nervous, but then she was also nervous, so it was like
Mhm.
it's like a nervous ball, and she's like, "I don't know what to do," and I'm like, "I don't know what to do either."
Yeah.
So,
And
yeah, so it's
you
like
know,
the aura you bring too.
totally. And I mean, as the photographer, there's an expectation that you kind of leading them, right? They want to feel confident that they're in good hands. People have different ways of doing it, and there's no right way. I'm a talker, and usually I'm constantly saying, yes, I love that. Let's adjust that. Telling them that they're on the right path, you know what I mean? And then some people want to maybe already look at the photo behind the camera. Like I would do that if that's what they want. But these photos that I take before the wedding, I deliver it to them within a couple of days latest. And then they can already see, oh, okay, we actually look good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It makes them feel like, hey, if we have good photos now, then we're going to get good photos during the wedding. So they're not so much in their mind stressing out
Yeah,
about it. That's what I
I
realized.
love that.
Such a tough job because A, like your brand is just you. And then B, when you go to these like shoots, you have to be extroverted and be there and you also have to know all the technical skills of the camera. And you also have to know like all the angles and like you have to remember like, okay, this pose looks good with this person. There's so much that goes into it.
I mean, it starts getting easier with the technical side, I can say at least, because I changed my DSLR camera to a mirrorless camera. So the settings are easier and then I don't have to have it in front of my face. I feel like that also adds to it where they don't feel like, I'm kind of covered. If we can have eye contact. So that part. And then in terms of like posing and angles, once you do it so many times, it's like if you've ever read that book Mastery, like 10,000 hours. I don't think I have my 10,000 hours, but those things start to become like at the back of your head, right? Then it really becomes between just creating that trust between you and the couple that they can just let the guard down, reveal something. It's a very vulnerable process, and you have to be vulnerable with them. Like I said, there are photographers who do it differently, and they have the results that they have, which is good. But that's my approach to it, and it works. It works well so far.
Amazing. Like all the podcast interviews that you've done, have you noticed what actually separates business that feels like calm and sustainable versus ones that feel constantly behind and burnt out at all?
From the people I've had on, nobody has admitted to being burned
Or
out
yeah.
in that sense. If anything, the topic with burnout that comes out is with social media and the exhaustion that
Yeah.
people have chasing the algorithm and, how it's just been a hamster wheel. Back in the day, I think we got away with posting a photo, whatever, and it was seen, it was okay. But I think if any burnout, it's really about the constant need to feel like, okay, now I have to make reels, I have to do behind the scenes and stuff like that, which I realize is the reality for a lot of photographers, but I can't get, like, I can't do that. You can check my Instagram, I barely post. I post just really strategically trying to be found in terms of SEO, optimized wordings and stuff like that because I just don't have the capacity for that.
We had a brief call before, but you were mentioning that you just, yeah, don't post on Instagram anymore, but you've did a different approach to like more evergreen marketing, focusing on your website, SEO, blogging,
Yeah.
uh, which is that's brilliant because you're not burdening yourself at all. Like it's staying on the internet for a long time. So
There's
yeah.
a certainty in terms of how are things going to change, especially with AI suggestions coming out and all that stuff. For the moment, we think websites are still here to stay. We hope so. In terms of how the rankings are going to work in the future, we don't know. But because our main focus is local, even though we do weddings in other parts of Europe sometimes, main part is really in the local area. And so our priority is doing whatever it takes to get our website ranking high when people are searching for a photographer in this area.
How many people are in your area?
The little village town we live in is very small, but we live around the Lake of Constance, which is surrounded by Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. And it's quite a popular destination for weddings to take place. So we're quite fortunate in that sense. And yeah, it works well. Normally we use German
Yeah.
for our website and everything, even though we have an English site. And that's how people search, in German for a photographer around the Lake of Constance. So we optimize um, our keywords around that and the
Mhm.
venues in this area.
We've talked a lot about post COVID wedding boom created expectations that weren't really realistic long term. From your perspective in Europe, how have you seen the market change over the last couple of years?
COVID was weird for a lot of people, and depending who you talk to, also in this area, it's like a different experience. COVID happened, weddings had to either be canceled or postponed or drastically reduced.
Mm.
So for a couple of years there, I felt like a lot of the weddings we were doing were like, let's say, depending at what point, it could have been 15, it could have been two of them as an elopement, or somewhere around 40 people max for it just felt like that for like a moment there. And then all of a sudden they started getting really big. And I remember it was like a couple years ago, I was just like, oh, why are the weddings I'm doing all of a sudden like with 130 people, which was a change. Like it felt like people were like, oh, finally, COVID is kind of behind us. Let's just go all out. I don't know. It could also be the market segment that we're in. But yeah, one thing I realized people were talking about at one point about the booking lead times because pre-COVID, a lot of people were booked out more than a year in advance, or like the inquiries were coming up in like that. And then there was this whole time where people are like, oh my God, where are the bookings? Where are the bookings? And then the bookings were coming in even as close as like 3 months out to the wedding, which is very hard for a lot of photographers to plan. We have to plan out. So, like, those kind of changes happen. And then, there's inflation and economic uncertainty. And so, like, maybe the scope of how long a package that's being booked changed for some people. Maybe it's shorter, where maybe some people were doing all day, full day weddings for 10, 12 hours. Maybe that went down to maybe 6 or 8 hours. But then now we're starting 2026. Who knows? I think it's just you have to be really adaptable in this business. It's not business as usual anymore. And you have to really be like, okay, analyze the market you're serving. Which segment are you in? What are the trends you've noticed for yourself? Like, don't necessarily listen to what everyone else is saying. I think that's where people fall into a trap, is just kind of like, but this person said that. No, focus on who your people are and adjust accordingly is what I'd say.
You guys have been in business for over a decade. What are some of the things that y'all have done in your business to be able to navigate those highs and lows? Because they can be rather steep.
The first few years were quite stable. There's not that much happening, right? I think the big shake for everyone else came around COVID and stuff like that. And the huge thing for us, like I said, is the focus on our website and our messaging, I would say. I really look at the copy that we write, that to make sure that it's resonating with whoever lands on our page, and to make sure, okay, they can feel like we're the right fit. They should also be the right fit for us. A good example is even with the photo shoot that we offered um before the wedding. It's not an engagement shoot like a lot of people have an engagement shoot. It's just a photo shoot and stuff like that. Because we really realized there's this kind of insecurity of being in front of the camera, and putting that front and center and showing that that is something that we offer helps. It helps them feel good. We feel good about it. It's fun. I love doing them. I actually have such a good time. And then like on the wedding day, I really know, okay, know these people more. Do you know what I mean? Back in the day, just kind of showing up at a wedding. Maybe we met at the consultation call, but it's a different kind of connection. I would say it's just really being attuned to, even when you have a client call, what are the questions they're asking? What are their concerns? And integrating that in your messaging.
The wedding planning industry pretty big in your location, or does everyone just kind of plan their own weddings there?
I feel like a lot of people plan their own weddings.
Seeing.
Yeah, it's very rare that we work with a wedding planner. It does happen, especially for this kind of middle market type of situation. I think from what I know, maybe in the luxury wedding market, wedding planners are more common, is what I would say.
The middle market is kind of dying out a little bit over on this side of the world. Are you seeing that trend over there too, or no?
That's what I hear, right? Like that middle
Mhm.
market is difficult. Either people are going high end luxury where they can really splurge, or like you've got really budget weddings, which is just hard to only do budget weddings, right? You just burn out. I mean, some people they can do on the side, but like here, I think it's still okay. But it's just from my personal experience. It's still fine at the moment. It might be coming. Who knows? Everything feels a little unpredictable at the moment.
So you've worked with like a lot of both like German and international couples. Obviously, the cultural differences are so fascinating.
Yeah.
Uh, but like, how would you describe the difference between like regular German couples and North American couples when it comes to like weddings and expectations?
There's a difference between German culture and like American culture. For me, um, I lived in the US for like 4 years before I had moved to this side of the world. I was more accustomed to that way of being. So it was an adjustment for me. Um, I'm very open, very bubbly and in your face, but I realize it's not as well received here. People are a bit more, they need a little bit time to open up. It
Mhm.
it could be overwhelming for them. So I had to learn to restrain myself a little bit. Let me put it that way. But it doesn't mean that they're not receptive. It's just not a thing. You don't go up to people on the street randomly and go blah, whereas in the US, that's okay. People react
Mhm.
to anybody. So here, I think there's a little bit of restraint until people kind of feel comfortable in the approach. And then another thing is, even now when I see photographers from North America and stuff like that, how they share and the couples, and it's very free. People are happy to be online, like their weddings are really showing, and they're happy to go viral on TikTok. Like it's a thing. But here, there's a lot of emphasis on privacy. A lot of couples don't want any of their images shown online. They want to
Really?
like they have that control over who sees it, who gets it. So it's not that easy. Only some couples like, oh, I don't mind. Yeah, sure. As long as like we approve those images and it's okay. But uh, it's not from the get go where you think, okay, I'm going to come to a wedding and just do like behind the scenes and show everything and post it online, make reels. It doesn't fly so easily.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that.
Hmm.
And the weddings like are a lot smaller in Germany too. Like America, like on average, it's like what 150 to 200 on average.
Those are rare. If most, I would say for me, it's like 80 to 100 normally.
Mhm.
So once it hits that 120 mark, I'm already like, oh, this is getting bigger. But of course, there are also people from other cultures who have their weddings here. Indian weddings and stuff can be a little bit larger. Turkish weddings, but yeah, for the most part, it's not common for people to spend so much money on their wedding here. I feel like Americans are ready to like go a bit in debt also for that special wedding day where they've dreamed about it the whole life. How people view it is also different, but it's a
Mhm.
generalization from my side.
Mhm.
That's just
Is the wedding day timeline similar as well too? Like, the morning, you capture videos and photos of them getting ready, and then,
yeah.
uh, the ceremony, cocktail service, dinner, like, is it sort of the similar timeline
Yeah,
too?
I think, because of the internet and social media and Pinterest, all that stuff, that there's kind of sameness happening all over. Instead of even like the words we've taken into German where we say first look, we say first because it's taken from the American culture and people do
Interesting.
Hmm.
this, so you see those trends sipping over here. So even when you look at wedding videos and stuff, they're similar in the end. You have that close up of the groom getting ready, the cufflinks, da da da. That's just a result of just what we see as photographers, videographers, and then also sometimes what couples see and what they expect and what they want. It is influence.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about AI because you have really strong opinions about it. On one hand, and as do we all, on one hand, AI has clearly made parts of workflows easier, especially with calling and editing. On the other, it's introduced some really complicated trust questions. So, how are you thinking about AI right now as a photographer?
I mean, for us, like I said, the workflow becomes easier. I personally barely use it for culling. If I'm using it for culling, is if I know I did a lot of group shots on a wedding and like I really go, eyes closed, whatever, to sort through that, it's perfect. But I'm not at a point where I feel like I can trust it to cull through my entire wedding gallery just because I have specific ideas in my mind of like the photos that I want to keep and want to
Mhm.
pick it out. And every time I've kind of called, I find myself going back searching, oh, how about that photo? And I want this angle. So it's not working for me yet. Maybe it improves. But in terms of editing, it's amazing to do the base edits, especially since like I've trained the program on my own way of editing. It's not someone else's profile. It's how I want it to be. So it does that base edit and I do go in and adjust every single image afterwards. It's a way faster process, which is amazing. And uh, and then there's like AI in terms of generative fill, where you can take it into like Photoshop or whatever if you want to get rid of some, like I mentioned before, dustbins in the background or weird stuff like that exit signs, which we all probably hate, it makes that so much easier. So I'm grateful for it. The concern more comes to the fact that like people are able now to generate completely fictional wedding galleries. I wish I could have remembered his name, but recently went viral on Instagram where he said something about this is not a real wedding. And there was a couple where literally it really looked like these images. You couldn't tell that they were completely fake. And so I think there's a concern in general. Okay, are there going to be fake photographers out there with fake portfolios showcasing work that's not real? And how's that going to affect the industry? How's that going to affect the level of trust that couples have when they are approaching a photographer? What can we do to show that our work is actually real, that we have the skills that it takes to create images on a real day?
Mhm. Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And we see it all the time, sometimes with, styled shoots too. Sometimes there's photographers who just use too much styled shoots, and then when it comes to the big day, it looks a little bit different. So I think, like,
Yeah.
giving full galleries is so important, and then just doing videos and, like, hopping onto calls and allowing them to just really trust you is probably super important to
Yeah.
build that trust.
Absolutely. Where are the ethics, right? With style shoots, a lot of us say, hey, style shoots are great because it gives you the opportunity to try something new, to actually showcase something you want to shoot in the future, to inspire couples. It's great. But then again, taking responsibility for someone's wedding day to actually know, okay, they are trusting you. And
Mhm.
do you have what it takes? Because it's not just knowing your settings, understanding light, but also working with people because
Mhm.
there's a lot that you have to balance throughout the day. And it
That's
all
the hardest part, is
yeah.
people.
Yeah, yeah, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? There are a lot of emotions, and sometimes it's not just happy emotions. There are family dynamics at play sometimes where you can see there's conflict. And then
Mm,
you are the person who kind of sometimes have to navigate that to keep things flowing peacefully. It does happen.
sure.
Mhm.
And then there's also like AI florists who are posting these flowers, or on Pinterest, we see it all the time too. Like when I'm on Pinterest too, all I see is AI images. When I'm looking for a new hairstyle or something like that, it's all AI images.
People don't know for sure, okay, what is possible and what's possible with the budget that they have.
Hmm.
Having a big floral set in the water floating, is that practical or is that just a beautiful AI image? I don't know what's out there. Like now, even people can really smoothen skin and create these perfect doll like images of people. But is that really what we want? It's also
Right.
communicating, okay, what are you saying is possible? What kind of retouching are you offering? Or not offering, and saying, okay, I'm more of a documentary wedding photographer. So it's more like I want you to see yourself when you see the images and not like a really doctored version of you. But I'm happy to get rid of your pimples if they come up on your wedding day. I
Yeah.
mean, not let them say.
So nice of you. So you've had some incredible guests on your podcast. Are there any episodes or conversations that really change how you think about like branding or visibility, or any of client photographers that you should be building for?
I really cherish the episodes I have with Leslie Vega. She's a brand and web designer. She's been on the podcast multiple times. And I
Oh,
think she, especially because I am huge on websites, I think she's also shares a lot of insight of how to build your website to look beautiful, but also functional, which is, I think, the
mhm.
balance that we all need to reach. I did mention Cheryl from Unscripted earlier in terms of focusing on that experience that we give our couples during the sessions. In terms of visibility, there is an episode with Maddie Shine. She's a visibility coach, and she really talks about, there's so many platforms that we can be on, and there's no reason for us to feel like we have to be everywhere at once, and really choosing the ones that work for us and our business, and not being afraid to show who we are. She's also an advocate for sharing video that our personality can shine through so that people can connect with us. I think that's important. It's not comfortable for a lot of people, which is understandable. But sometimes just being a little bit brave to put ourselves a bit out there so that we can resonate and reach the people that we're trying to reach.
I think being in this industry too, especially as photographers, a lot of them are very introverted, and
Yeah.
that's why they like to sit behind the camera too, right? Like it's
Mhm.
like to let someone else shine. So is there like any tips that you would give if someone were to just hop onto camera and like just yap away?
It's not for everyone, right?
Mhm.
And I don't feel like it's something you have to do. If you're just on the edge and you want to try it out, just give it a try. I think maybe try to find a safe space, like your stories, where you feel like, okay, you can even reduce who's looking at your stories. Maybe try it with your close friends just to kind of test the waters. Some people can go in the deep end and just go live on TikTok. I don't know. But don't feel like that's the only way to market your business is what I'm saying. I don't do all that, and so far it's working. It's okay.
Like,
You'll survive. But it could also be just a video that you have recorded and you put on your website. It doesn't even have to go on social media. It could be even professionally edited where you've looked over it and it's polished. That also could work. All of us might need to start doing with AI and fake images to create more trust and credibility with clients. We don't know, but at the moment, video might be a way to do that as well. Who knows?
what did you learn with the brand and web designer?
I mean, I think I've had her on 4 times, so I've learned a lot.
Yeah.
But you should definitely check it out. I have a couple of the videos actually also on YouTube, not just audio. But I think it was really about because we have this concern sometimes about my website is optimized for SEO, right? And it could feel a bit, let's say, mechanical, technical. And how do we also have that aspect and also make it emotional and appealing and weddingy at the same time? How do we integrate those two things together? She has a lot to say about it, so definitely check her out.
That's always the hard line that you're always balancing. It's like technical and like especially for photographers, they love to just splash a bunch of photos and like use no words. I'm like, we have to use some words. Like
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely the thing. It looks beautiful. We want those images to shine, but how can we make them shine alongside the text that we need to put in there?
yeah. How do we talk to our ideal clients? It's really important. But it's a fine line for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, totally.
It sounds like all of these techniques combined, you're saying really starts with self reflection as who you are as a brand and who your ideal couple is, and starting there to really figure out what platforms you want to use, how you want your website to show up, how you want to show up as a brand.
Yeah, totally. And I think it just starts with like, what is the kind of lifestyle you want to live? At least that's important for me. Like, and it doesn't mean that it's always going to be the same. Which phase are you in your life? It was a bit
Mm.
different for me when my kids were way smaller. I had other priorities and other ways that I wanted to be a part of the business. And then as they're growing, the capacity I have changes or what I want to do changes. So it could evolve and grow with you. So, I mean, that is my starting point is looking out, okay, where am I in my life? Where are we as a family? And adjusting according to that as a starting point.
Love that. I think it's really great that you mentioned lifestyle as like an important pillar because you're so right. Your health and happiness is primary. And once that's figured out, then everything else just kind of falls into place.
Sometimes I think people look at photographers online and they wish they had that. You know, it could
Yeah.
be some photographers who are just doing destination weddings and they're like in the most amazing places. Their portfolio looks amazing. And then there's this desire, oh, I wish I had that, right? For me, I'm like, oh, that's great. And I'm so happy for them. But I know it's unrealistic for my lifestyle. I have kids that need to go to school. I don't have mom here to help me.
Mhm.
I have to be here for the kids.
Yeah.
So I can't just be flying around and I don't want to. I don't want to miss these precious years. So it's really like, what do I want? That's why right now the major focus is like locally. It's more or less within an hour and a half um driving range that I can come home after a
Mhm.
wedding. That's kind of what I mean. People need to really reflect on what's realistic.
You're the second European photographer that we've interviewed. And both of y'all mentioned lifestyle and making sure that you were like local and that you were part of your family's lives. All the other photographers that we've spoken to, like on this side of the world, they don't really mention that. And so I think that's something that North American photographers can really take away from because
Interesting. Yeah.
we aspire for y'all's lifestyle, like the European lifestyle, everyone aspires to, right? Right? We think
Yeah.
about but really, the way that y'all achieve that is by putting that primary.
I
And
think it's just also the culture and very pragmatic about it. It was funny. I was talking to a friend of mine from the US and I was telling her, "Oh, I'm trying to reach this person." And it was Friday last week. And she's like, "Yeah, why didn't they get back to you?" And I was like, "Oh, it's Friday afternoon. People are taking it chill. Like it's you know?" And she's like,
yeah,
"Oh, can you reach him tomorrow or something?" I'm like, "It's the weekend. Do not answer
yeah.
your phones." And it was really strange for her because she's just like, "Why are people just like off hours not working?" There's a huge kind of cut. And then it just made it more present for me that real hustle culture that you have in the US is
Mhm.
not that present here. People say, "Hey, when I'm working, I'm working." But otherwise, especially once they're parents and have kids, they're just like my priority are just making sure like I'm building a good life for the kids and spending time with them. It's
Yeah.
kind of ingrained.
That's how it should be though. I don't know, but everyone
Yeah,
has
it's
yeah.
just knowing that we don't get this time back. At least that's how it is for me. Because if I want to do those things, given that life allows it, I can always do it in the future. Doesn't have to be
Mhm.
right now.
Yeah.
It's kind of how I see it.
If you were talking to a photographer right now who feels either overwhelmed or burnt out or just unsure of what to focus on next, what would you want them to hear?
Usually, if we are in that point of overwhelm and burnout, we're not thinking straight. I feel like it's like brain fog and taking time out to just kind of come to yourself. I put my thoughts to paper. That's what works for me. Then I feel like it comes out. I've written it out and I can take a step back and look at it.
Mm.
Usually overwhelm is a result of seeing everything all together at once. But once you kind of break things down into manageable small pieces, hyper focusing on that and then chipping at one thing to the next, you make way more progress instead of feeling like, oh God, I'm paralyzed because I don't know which way to go. But just making a decision, okay, this is my first step, and catching that momentum, taking a breath if you need to, and then doing the next thing and then the next thing. Sometimes it's just a grind to get out of it.
I always feel like it's better just to take little bites at a time. Don't
Yeah.
tackle like the biggest project. Start off the smallest and then you kind of gain momentum from there.
Especially if you're at that point of complete overwhelm and burnout, you have to be kind to yourself to be like, you know what, I'm just not in a place to take all of this on. I can at least start and see. It's just about making that progress. And then sometimes before you know it, there's clarity. You've come further along than you even thought was possible. You just kind of keep at it. Sometimes life is just hard. We have to accept it. It's not always easy, but we have to keep on fighting. It is what it is. Yeah.
That's a great
Well,
message.
okay, so we're going to be talking about some marketing trends that are happening. This is why we call our podcast What Couples Want, and we're just going to get Ida's little take on it. So, the first one is the rise of high fidelity silent ceremonies. Guests are wearing designer headphones during their vows, and at first glance, it feels like novelty or like a TikTok thing, but it's not. This is a direct response to tightening noise audiences in destination locations like coastal Spain, historic European cities, and yes, even places like Charleston. So venues are starting to require this after 6 p.m. What we find fascinating is that it creates sort of this private audio bubble in a public space. Produced soundtracks, voiceovers, music's only the guests can hear. So Ida, are you seeing more regulations shaping weddings in Europe than in the US
The
right
first I'm hearing of this, that I'm so attuned to. I was just like, what is she
now?
talking? Y- I cannot imagine this is going to be happening, at least with the weddings that I'm photographing. Uh, Um, uh, my couples are not the type. Different. I mean, it's like those silent disco parties for me, which
Yeah.
look funny and cool. Um, but yeah, I mean, in my world, I don't think I'm going to see that anytime soon. But I can imagine maybe it is happening in somewhere else. I don't know, but fun. Okay.
It can be fun. I've never been to a silent disco before, so I have no idea.
Oh man, it's big. It's big over here. And even like I went to a cycle class that was a silent disco spin class. And so we were on the bikes with our headphones on, like listening to music outdoors. It was great.
It's funny. I've seen videos online and I always think it looks really funny. I've never been to one or whatever, but putting that in the context of a wedding, uh I don't know. I'm just trying to imagine it because I wonder, are people just putting it on for like the party at night and for those specific loud portions of the wedding? What do they look like? I have no idea. It's something I'm gonna look into just because I'm so curious right now.
I think it ties into there was something that was mentioned on the trend report that people are being sensory conscious. Yeah, so they're creating like quiet lounges, low sensory lighting, fidget bars, and decompression spaces.
Is it to be inclusive for autistic guests and
Mhm.
stuff? So
Yeah,
in that sense, I can totally I'm all for that because some have really sensory issues. I think that's beautiful. That's the reasoning behind it. Is there another marketing trend that is totally new
yeah.
and different? I want to hear it.
Another shift is both emotional and monetized. We're seeing a 40% increase in couples booking a morning of breakfast together. So, this is a full rejection of the we don't see each other superstition. Instead, couples are choosing grounding over spectacle. Hotels are now packaging this as a premium offering. What this means is private dining, meditation, light yoga, anxiety reducing rituals, all of that on the morning of the wedding ceremony. Ida, are couples talking more openly about wedding anxiety and emotional regulation where you're at?
All I see is the normal wedding jitters the morning of, which is actually for me beautiful. It's one of my
Mm.
favorite things to photograph, especially like, let's say if the mom is there or a sibling, and you just know there's a lot that led to that moment. I'm all for if people say, hey, we want to be together as a couple the morning of, ground ourselves. If that's something that's authentic to them, I think it's beautiful. I feel like A lot of weddings do follow a similar program. Breaking that pattern is welcome. Why not? Do you is what I say. Do you? And as a photographer, it's even more exciting because it gives us something new to experience.
Different. Like, how awesome would it be to capture your couple doing light yoga or meditation in the morning to calm each other's nerves? I think that's so cute.
Yeah, I would be totally for it. I would be hyped to just have something different to witness and experience.
I feel like your couples are very chill, like you. I'm getting that sense from like your answers that your couples are just very relaxed.
Most of my couples are quite low key. I would say
Mhm,
I've had weddings where they just rented out like a space by the lake and invited all their family and friends with their kids, and they are invited to for a summer get together,
mhm.
bathing suits, just going into the lake, having a ceremony, just sitting in the grass, and someone is just like maybe a friend is conducting that ceremony, and
Mm.
then they just have some cake and whatever, and like people are literally not dressed in this wedding way, but like I said, they could be in their bathing suits and the kids are running around, and I'm just there to witness it and document it. And that's happened quite a few times where it's really just kind of a garden party outdoor type of situation, and they're happy to book me because they feel like I will blend in. I'm not the photographer who's gonna go and be like, "Look at me, turn this way. I'm gonna take photos of you." I'm just gonna be chill, have my camera out there, and just be part of what's happening. I would say that's most of the weddings that I have. Of course, I have other ones, especially Germany is known for castles. We have so many castles all over the place. And like a church wedding, and then going to the castle, we have that kind of thing too, but at the same time they're not overly dramatic. They're just happy to be together, families there, they're welcoming, they're saying, "Hey, take a break, Ida, the mom comes, have some cake." you know um they make me feel like I'm a part of it, and that's what I think has kept me in the industry long enough, because I like being a part of it. I don't wanna be on the outside looking in. It's just not my thing. I just kind of like, I'm there with their emotions, like, I just feel something. There's a bond that forms.
I just got, engaged as well too, and I, like, riff on that side with
Congratulations.
you. I wanna, like I'm on that line between, like, how do I, like, make it just so chill and just so relaxed, and then there's the other side, I'm like, "What about big? What about fun?" So, it's all over the place, but it depends. I don't know.
It has pros and cons. Do you know what
There's
I
pros and
mean?
cons. Yeah.
And,
Mhm.
just do something where you feel like, okay, when you look back, you're happy you did it that way. I know it's hard
Yeah.
to not know what it is, but I think it's go for, where both of you feel like, okay, that's us, and it's not
Mm.
because of external pressure or expectations or what people do, but kind of like it's aligned with us. My husband, for example, he was like, there's no way he's wearing a suit on our wedding or anything like that. He's just
Mhm.
like, it's not me, I'm not doing it. And I'm like, it's okay. I'm not the type to wear a wedding dress. I'm not gonna wear a wedding dress. So we're both on the same thing. Yeah. So like I literally one day was just walking by a store. I saw a white dress for 100 euros, much like $100. And that's what I bought and wore. That was it. And then
Wait.
he wore jeans and bought enough
Okay.
shirt that we got, like, the shirt was like 25 euros from some random store in France. We're like, "Oh, okay." That was us, literally, and we look at those images and we're like, "That's us. We did what we did."
Change it for the world.
Yeah, we
Okay.
wouldn't change it, because if we did it differently because others expected that from us, just, uh would have felt like we're fulfilling an obligation, but now we're
Yeah.
just like, no, we were in the mountains in Austria. That's what, like, it was a place we've been there before. It was a beautiful view. I mean, it was crazy because, like, even we didn't know where we were doing the ceremony. Morning of, I was just like, let's do it right there. Literally, and they're like, okay, let's just like, it was that random, but I just didn't plan ahead. I just was happy that the people we wanted to be there made it. So I'm just saying, do you people?
Last one.
Yeah.
This one's called the anti-wedding party movement. This one is officially confirmed by data this week. Matching bridesmaids are declining. Instead, couples are opting for guest besties. No altar lineup, no identical dresses, just
Yeah.
close friends sitting on the front row, dressed individually and not cohesively.
Yeah.
It removes the financial burden, the emotional labor, and honestly, the resentment. So, have any photographers shared frustrations about like managing massive wedding parties in your interviews at all, or
No,
has
it's
there been
not
any?
something that came up, but this is one trend that I've actually heard of and read about. From photos that I see online, where like bridesmaids can choose their own dresses that fit their bodies and their style. I can back that up any day. I think they look beautiful. I don't think like they have to be standing everyone wearing one color purple. Like I like the switch up. I'm actually for it, and especially like in terms of when you say burden that comes with being a bridesmaid sometimes, less so on this side of the world. It's not, but from what I hear in the US, the financial expectations of the bachelorette party and this and that and whatever. And then in the end, after the wedding, they don't even talk to each other anymore. Like it can create such a rift between people. I think that's just tragic. It shouldn't be. Of course, there have been situations for people where it all worked out, but I think especially how life is right now, a lot of people are also struggling a bit financially. They're not in a position to do all that, but then again, they feel like, oh my God, but for my best friend, I gotta do this. And I don't know. I just feel like it's just too much. It's too much.
Oh yeah.
And giving people more freedom to be and refocusing on what a wedding should be about is just better, because sometimes we kind of lose the plot with some things,
Oh
my
yeah.
opinion.
Oh yeah. The Germans have it right. Oh, we need to start
Not
listening to the
all
Germans.
the things, I don't know. A lot of weddings that I see, American weddings, there are a lot that look so much fun. They look like a blast, and I'm like, I want to be there. Really, there are also weddings really that are like outlandish, crazy, and I'm just like, "Oh, I wanna experience that." There are
Yeah.
Nigerian weddings. Oh, any
Oh,
Nigerians, please hire me. That would be my dream,
oh
because 'cause they're
gosh,
so out there.
it is so
The
fun.
bride getting all her money. Why
Oh
not?
my
Oh,
god.
yeah.
Like, I
Is that
Right.
the culture where they don't smile
Yeah,
until the
have you
money?
seen
Yeah,
those?
I love that. I
I'm
love
like,
those videos. They're
keep it
so
up,
good.
stay straight. Like, I'm just like, I am for, do you know what I mean? Like, just because I do these kind of low key, whatever weddings and stuff, it doesn't mean those are the only weddings I want to do or think that's how it should be. Like, experiencing all the different types, I think is beautiful. The diversity in that and appreciating it. I don't think any of us should be really judging how much people spend on a wedding, how big or how small they do it. Live and let live, enjoy, experience it. That's kind of where I'm at. But I do have a little bucket list of the type of weddings I want to do, and Nigeria is on top of that list.
Kim, do you know that tradition that we're talking about?
I haven't heard of that tradition at all.
So at a wedding reception, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ida, but
Yeah,
at a wedding reception, the bride will stand there and the groom and his friends, right, will throw money at her. And she is not to smile until she's received enough offerings to her pleasure, right?
yeah.
The goal is to try to get her to smile while you're doing it. And like, she won't smile. You'll see videos where like, not smiling,
Stone
not a
face,
face.
just like, yeah. They're just so funny. But their party looks like a blast, you know what I mean? The
Mhm.
energy is there. I think
And
it's beautiful,
I think
I'm
so
all
too.
about it.
I agree. Whenever you book that wedding, let us know and send us all the photos.
If it happens, sometimes when you have a wish, they just say, "Put it out there." You never know,
Mhm.
who it's gonna reach. So, like, Nigerian wedding, they're just different ones that I see online, which is one beauty of, like, social media, because we get exposed to so much of what's out there.
I know this conversation was such a breath of fresh air. Thank you so much for sharing not just your experience, but like your wisdom, and you've gathered so many voices in the industry. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me on. It's been such a pleasure. You two are so lovely. I can't wait to like backtrack and start listening to your podcast from the first. And you always pop up on my Instagram, and it makes me happy. To see you. Uh, it's thank you so much for what you're doing. It's amazing.
Thank you, Ida. Yeah. So let me just go ahead and ask you, Ida, if people want to find you, where can they find you?
Yeah, I think the easiest way is to find me on Instagram at Aida Glowik, and Glowik is written with a W, so it's AIDAGLOWIK. Via DM, or you can check out my podcast. Hopefully, new episodes coming through. But there are a good number of them that you can find. It's called My Wedding Season, the podcast, and you can find it wherever you listen to your podcast.
We'll link Ida's podcast and work in the show notes so that way you can dive deeper into her conversations and perspective. For everyone listening, we hope this episode gave you permission to slow down, zoom out, and build something that actually lasts.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yay.
Thank you. I'm excited